Good afternoon. My name's Dan Short. I live in Kalispell, and I'm a financial advisor and a branch manager for Merrill Lynch in their Whitefish office. I am showing no respect for Ted rules because I do have my notes in my hand. but in his book, Born a Crime, Trevor Noah, now of The Daily Show, said, "We spend so much time being afraid of failure, afraid of rejection. But regret is the thing that we should fear most. Failure is an answer. Rejection is an answer. But regret is an eternal question that you will never know the answer to." So today I want to share a story of a failure of mine that began while I was here at the university 40 years ago, some consequences of that failure, and also, in spite of those consequences, why I have no particular regrets. On the surface, it would be very easy for me to say that I failed at being a CPA. But that's not entirely accurate. My real failure was I did not know or understand myself very well when I was here. As a result, I allowed myself to be nudged by external forces in a series of directions that I probably would not have taken had I known myself a little better. But the first consequence of this failure was, and maybe there's a couple of you that can resonate with this, was the absolute random, nonsensical way in which I came to declare myself a major in accounting. Don't have enough time in 5 minutes to lay out the whole story, but suffice it, clueless? When I entered the business school and said, I'm an accounting major, I did not know what an accountant did. I did not know what you would do with an accounting degree. I thought my dad, I couldn't remember if he had an accountant or maybe just knew an accountant, but that was about literally, that's the truth. But let me be clear, I have no regrets about the education I got in accounting. I actually did pretty well. I learned how to solve problems, I learned how to analyze, I learned how to communicate, think critically, and these are all transcendent skills, whatever you do. It's not just limited to accounting. So again, no regrets, but it started pushing me in a couple other directions. Specifically, at that time at the university, rightly so, the accounting department was very proud of two things. One was the percentage of CPA candidates that passed the CPA exam on their first sitting, and the second was the percentage of accounting graduates that accept positions with what were then the Big 8, now the Big 4 national CPA firms. So by accounting department standards here, I was a smashing success. Passed the exam on my first sitting. I moved to Seattle, accepted a job with Pricewaterhouse, now PricewaterhouseCoopers, no Academy Award jokes. The only problem with my choice was I absolutely hated, I can't overstate this, hated the tedium of what I actually did as an auditor. Again, no regrets about making that choice to work there. I learned, what I mostly learned about myself was I absolutely loved getting to know and connect with people and learn their stories. I also, as basically a small town kid from the West, I learned I loved to travel for adventure. I did not like traveling for 27 weeks for work. I also enjoyed visiting cities. I like what cities have to offer, but living in a city is not for me. And I also didn't want to raise a family in Seattle, which is what my wife and I were preparing to do at that time. So when I told the partner in charge of the Pricewaterhouse office that I was leaving, he gave me the best career advice I've ever received. And he said, a man needs to look forward to coming to work at least 3 days out of 5. Otherwise, you probably ought to be doing something else. So, next step, did come back to Montana. I worked for one CPA firm and then another, but on reflection, I was still miserable. There's nothing wrong with any of the firms that I worked with, but I was still not passing the 3 days out of 5 test. At that point, I had to be honest with myself that my pursuit of a career in public accounting was simply a means, basically, to a paycheck and support for a very flawed vision of who I thought I was. So, after a difficult process of of self-examination and reflection, I did make a career choice, move from public accounting to the financial advisory business. But in the process, I had some very humbling moments. I had to give a house I couldn't sell back to the bank. I had to borrow money from my in-laws to pay rent and buy groceries. Even if you're a so-called professional, you still have to be able to pay your bills on time. But I finally was passing that 3 days out of 5 test. Again, I have no regrets about where this has taken me. I wish all of you the most self-awareness that you can have, and thank you very much for listening to my story.